Which character death hit you differently, and why?
I definitely fucked up by going into this comment section with all these spoilers, but that's on me.
That girl from the bridge to Terabithia. That hit me so hard as an 8-year-old. Hank in Breaking Bad and Walter's face afterwards just matched mine.
Ben from Scrubs. He wasn't even a major character, but at the time he was Dr. Cox's only friend, the only one who made him a joyous person, and that gut punch of a twist was something else. Where do you think we are? Oberyn. You had him. Dude. You fucking had him.
It shattered me when Brooks died in the Shawshank Redemption sad face.
Boxer, from Animal Farm. He worked so hard his whole life and to be sent to a glue farm while his best friend screams and runs behind him, chills man.
Arthur Morgan. He was a good man who was dealt a bad hand.
Maze Hughes from FMA for me. Fred Weasley was the most devastating death to me. I have a twin sister, so it hit extra hard for me picturing life without my twin as not a life at all. Edit. Clarifying words.
Count Olaf in a series of unfortunate events. The books. Just something about a man so shaped by his own misery becoming a figure of cruelty and greed, relentless in pursuing the misery of others. He believes all people are this way in reality, and cannot see through the darkness, use his intelligence and skills for good. Then he just dies, unredeemed on a coastal shelf, and no one has anything to say. That's also what I liked about the books as a kid. There was an underlying message of, sometimes terrible things happen and there's not much you can do about it, but try to get out the other side kicking.
Stoic from How to Train Your Dragon 2. Not so much the way he died, but the funeral scene, the music and the recital by Gobber.
John Marston. He suffered so much in an attempt to move on from his past, killing all of his former comrades in the process. He finally reunited with his wife and kid, gets a small glimpse at a new life, and then he's shot down in front of a barn like a damn dog. Was painful to watch, doubly so after RDR2 came out. That horse in the never-ending story. The Iron Giant. Give me a good growling-voiced Superman, and I start to tear up.
Ellie from Up.
Boromir. First time I ever cried during a movie.
Washburn in Serenity. He was my favorite character from Firefly, and I just wasn't expecting it at that point in the movie.
Fry's dog in Futurama. That episode was so heartfelt and I just couldn't. Tadashi Hamada in Big Hero 6.
Fives.
When Lee died in the Walking Dead game. That shit made me cry.
Sam the dog in I Am Legend. Because he was Will Smith's friend and he had to put her down.
Cedric Diggory. But it's his father's reaction that even remembering strikes cold fear and dread in my soul. Probably being a father myself causes it to resonate. My boy.
Uncle Iroh's son from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Tales of Ba Sing Se, the real Avatar: Last Airbender, not the hack version from M. Night Shyamalan. You're never introduced to him, but you can convey from the deep sorrow Iroh pours out how his death affected his personal purview and moral edict. It made me cherish the worlds, friendships and lives you build with people because you are an influence to many, and pouring poison into a vessel is a quick way to make you regret how you passed along what you said and did. Edit. Clarification because despite talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender, people are being purposefully obtuse. Thomas J. from My Girl. When Vada is crying at his funeral, screaming about his glasses, that hits different. Gets me every time.
Captain K's death in Jojo Rabbit. Watched it last night expecting the mom to die, but the captain's death made me tear up because it was unexpected.
Littlefoot's mom in The Land Before Time. When I first saw it as a kid, it was the first time that I realized that my parents could die. That thought had never even really occurred to me at that point. Even now as an adult, that scene. Where he thinks he sees her but it's just his shadow and the narrator says, then Littlefoot knew for certain he was alone. Still gets to me.
Sarah Lynn from BoJack Horseman. Especially as you find out more detail of that night in later seasons.
Ellie, from Up. My significant other is relatively quiet and I'm the complete opposite, energetic, always have something to say. We've been together for 10 years now and met at 16. I worry that we can't conceive children someday, and that's partly because of a pretty bad miscarriage I had years ago. In turn, I worry about him being lonely and even quieter if I die first.
Yondu. Shit was sad ASF and I actually cried a lil in the theater. Prim. Unlike most character deaths, it wasn't in the midst of the action excitement, it was after they'd won. It felt so spiteful and unnecessary. Fuck coin.
It was a hell of a thing when Spock died. Hell of a thing. Live long and prosper, Sokka. But mostly because we don't know how he died, and it bothers the fuck out of me. Edit. For everyone saying it's a spoiler, don't be deterred from Korra. Give it a shot, it's not relevant at all to the plot of Loki, just a story detail. You find out pretty much the first episode.
Finnick Odair from The Hunger Games. I remember being a junior in high school, reading Mockingjay in class, and then suddenly, Finnick dies. I was so taken aback and shocked. I had to look up from my book and glance around because I thought I had made a noise. Turns out, I didn't, but I had to read his death scene a few times to really understand what just happened. Needless to say, I started to tear up and had to go to the bathroom to calm down. Lol. Logan. 'Cause I literally grew up with those movies and that character. When I went to bed after seeing it for a second time, I just cried. Probably cried to sleep. It was as if my childhood ended there.
Bing Bong. Mufasa in The Lion King.
Fred Weasley. Fuck man, I cry every single time I read that bit. I think it's because Percy has just come back and they're joking around and then he's dead. I absolutely sobbed watching the movie when Ron realizes he's dead. Edit. Whoa, this blew up.
The dad in the book, The Road. Maybe because my son was born just a month earlier, but it was incredibly sad. The father tried so hard to live, to care for his son, who is now alone. In the cold, devastated. Legion, on ME3. That is heartbreaking. More if you choose to kill him.
The Princess Shireen. I had to take a break from Game of Thrones after that one. Pussy on Orange is the New Black. She was one of the few characters I really cared about on the show, and her death was just so unnecessary and realistic. Just devastating.
When Stringer Bell died on The Wire, I seriously considered not watching the rest of the series. I'm glad I did continue, but later deaths like Omar and Snoop were no easier. Edit. Everybody responding to me is right. Wallace is really the toughest one on the show. I think I just love Idris Elba.
Dobby. I've read the books before and knew he would die, but when I saw him dying in the movie, it just broke my heart. So I cried my eyes out in the cinema. I was 10. Edit. Typo.
John Coffey from Green Mile. I can't believe this hasn't been said yet, that movie hit me different. Edit. Spelling, thanks you, Queen of Thera, and rewording. Loki in Infinity War. Not because of some great affinity for the character, but because I was absolutely certain that he was the one person who was safe from being offed. Of course, he not only died, but he died first. Greed from Full Metal Alchemist. Greed may not be good, but it's not so bad either. You humans think greed is just for money or power, but everyone wants something they can't have. Greed had the most selfless death, and damn did it hit home. Blew it. Bobby Singer.
Charles from Henry Stickmin. You know why.